Mr. Aerosmith? Oh, sorry, everybody. I keep reminding myself to grow up. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome to see you. And like everybody, but Mr. Aerosmith, he's my friend in real life, and he used to be my boss. He's probably still the boss of me, but whatever. Maybe your wife is. She's the boss of all of us. Okay, sorry. Enough about me. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start pretty much now. Well, I guess I'll give another minute, but I have a complex about like the tardy bell and getting started to make sure that we get a big bang for our time. So while we are waiting, I just wanted to welcome you all. This is definitely going to be recorded and posted, so stay tuned for that. It's only our second office hours for team educator development at the Department of Education. And so remember, for the topics for this particular office hour, they come from the field, they come from you. So it's based on whatever it is that you need to know. And so I know that with COVID cases rising and a lot of uncertainty in terms of school, right? Again, more uncertainty. That there's many schools that are still virtual. There are schools that are trying hybrid models. There are schools that have had to maybe pull back a little bit. They were going face-to-face in person, and now they're kind of reconsidering. But either way, we are so much more knowledgeable, and our teachers are so much more poised, and our leaders are so much more poised to make different decisions. And so I thought that it was going to be really great to support in this way. It was requested. So now that we're sort of emotionally and spiritually and physically more ready than we would have been in March, if we can have just an hour together to talk about supporting teachers in a virtual and hybrid environment. So at the end of the day, we still have to teach. So we've done a lot around like the health and safety and the guidelines, but how can we really support teachers? So just like last month's meeting, we made it clear that for this particular office hour, we wanted to be like centered around experts from the field. So this particular meeting, this particular office hour is going to highlight the voices of 3 educators that are currently in either hybrid or virtual roles. And then we're going to take it away because I want to introduce you to a person in an organization that do incredible work. So Dr. Tammy Seneca with LaQ, Louisiana Association of Computer Using Educators. She's going to be leading the second half of this. So that way you get almost complete knowledge that comes from us simply being the conduit to voices from the field and people actually doing this work and leading in this work every single day. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome again. So I just gave you the welcome. We all need a solid agenda to make life go by better. So we're going to take about 10 minutes to give you just some LDOE virtual resources. I'm going to share something real quick with you, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, my colleague, Holly. And then you're going to get to hear from 3 real live teachers that are doing this work. And then, like I said, the rest of this time is going to be spent this time with what I'm going to call a powerful partnership with, again, Dr. Seneca from LaQ. So she can take you through just resources that exist, whether we're in COVID or not, resources that are amazing, that most teachers I've found around the state haven't heard of yet in schools. And so you are all supporting schools and you're all supporting teachers. So hopefully you'll be able to take all of this back and be able to kind of play it forward and pay it forward. So the first thing that I wanted to tell you before I turn it over to Holly Jesse is just to remind you, and some of you may have already seen this, but currently we have a really, really rad partnership with NIET. They worked with us to do a crosswalk with our Compass work to provide these really, really great PD series. So in the beginning, each district was allocated certain seats. but we still have a couple thousand seats left. And so what these are, it's like the absolute kind of nitty gritty art science ideas of teaching like synchronously online. And if you're a school leader, then it's ways for you to be able to support those teachers, to support people trying to do this work and figure it all out online. So if you haven't already done it, you're gonna register completely through NIET's website, and it's gonna be hyperlinked here. This is gonna be posted with the video. The form is super simple, and there are so many dates. I don't know, I'm not great at math. There's like 20 or more dates. So there's some that start now. They've already started. Some people have already been in these trainings and have just sang their praises. I'm registered for one that starts in January. I need all the help I can get. I still teach virtually in the evenings. So just go on ahead and register for that. We don't want any of those seats to not be used, because we all need the help so much. And the more we know, the better we are. And the more we learn, the less anxiety that we have. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Holly. And she is going to tell you a little bit about some resources that we already have posted, and then give you a little bit of kind of guidance and support on how they might be used with your teachers.
Thanks, Kim. So I am going to share with you just a kind of high-level walkthrough of the Louisiana ELA Guidebooks Distance Learning Strong Start Instructional Materials Guidance. That is quite a mouthful, but essentially it is your survival guide for all things ELA guidebooks if you are adapting to a distance learning model in any way, shape, or form. There's also some resources that are good regardless of what Tier 1 curriculum you are implementing that I will walk you through as well. And those are our knowledge packs and independent reading protocols. Can you let me share? That way I can just navigate through the document, and I will drop the link in the chat.
You consider yourself a co-host. I just made it happen.
So this document we rolled out in, I think it was April, and it was very bare bones. The first step was getting everybody's materials. All of that information still lives here as far as your access to unit materials. But what we have started adding in the meantime is some true support for implementing in multiple learning scenarios. So if you go to that section of the document, you will see that there is guidance for how to adapt guidebooks for virtual learning. That's full on virtual, and it gives you a little description just in case. For a long time, I was calling some forms of hybrid learning platoon learning, because that was like a holdout from, I think, some Hurricane Katrina days. But just so that you know exactly what we're referencing, there's full virtual, hybrid learning, and then low-tech analog learning. So there's multiple scenarios in which you might be implementing. It walks you through what materials you would need to successfully implement in a purely virtual environment. This one is for having some virtual happening synchronously and asynchronously, but having students do some in-person learning. And this is hybrid learning, but without access to technology. So that's going to look a little different than what kids can do when they are not with the teacher in class. And then finally, the low-tech analog learning is for our students who are not receiving the benefit of being in the classroom with the teachers. And that is where the distance learning guidebook companions come in. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. Most important thing to know, and I think that will help you, is there are these documents to support you. There is this example of how to adapt a lesson for hybrid and virtual learning, and it walks you through the actual slide numbers in the lesson and tells you how you can adapt that and incorporate the additional supports for diverse learners into those lessons. So a sample of what that looks like, as well as, sorry, everybody dizzy now. A checklist to help you think through some different things. And so it gives you how to plan, implement, and communicate around what you are doing with your virtual instruction for ELA guidebooks. While this is specific to guidebooks, it is important to know that the Distance Learning Strong Start Guide for Instructional Materials Guidance does lay this out for every Tier 1 curricula. All of our ELA curriculums rose to that charge and put out these plans. So if you do not use guidebooks, While this might be helpful to like let you see how we're talking about using the curricula in different scenarios, there is also curriculum specific guidance available for you as well. Last thing I wanted to make sure that I showed you was the, I'm gonna be smart about this and open it in a new window so I don't have to go all the way back. But essentially what this is, it allows you to see like the overall lesson plan annotations. I would say that that's like the largest request that we have been having is what do truly annotated lesson plans look like to meet needs for all students. You'll see that this is like the before core. You need to build knowledge around what a folktale is, understanding that slaves did not, were not literate. And that is why that oral tradition, this is right before they read The People Could Fly, just FYI for all of you wondering where all this is being dropped in the middle of behind the scenes. So there's like some language support and all of these annotations. If you go back to the adaptation, this actually matches that traditional lesson plan. So you'll see that teachers can think about how to support diverse learners asynchronously around those things. You'll see the translations of the support annotations popping up in this. So I recommend holding these two documents next to each other and truly understanding different ways that you can like support synchronously and asynchronously with your students and still maintain the tier 1 instructional curriculum. And then finally, we have the distance learning guidebook companions. If your school is in a place where you have some students who are not learning virtually, that is where these come in. If you have not seen them, there are some links. What it is most important to know is this is a call about hybrid and virtual learning, which means if you are doing this, distance learning guidebook companions were not really created for this. There's different examples that I just showed you. Most important to know is that the distance learning guidebook companions were created for students to complete like absent of a teacher at home. So they do not function in that same way that the virtual things, they do not function in the same way that our virtual and hybrid instruction would. So if you have the ability to engage with your students virtually, there are many other ways to do that. If you are doing virtual and you are still having some text access issues or you need to build knowledge with your students, that is where our knowledge packs come in. And even if you are not an ELA Guidebooks user, we created this partnership with Common Lit and it could be helpful to provide some flexibility. So give you some ways that you could use them traditionally. Let's say you're in a magic world where everybody's back and in person. These are your small group supports for building knowledge to give your kids something to do during small group instruction to support what they're doing in core. For virtual, hybrid, and analog distance learning, they are going to give you meaningful independent practice to support core instruction. So all of these materials are available on Louisiana Believes. And we've done an update to the guidebooks page. So if you haven't been there in a while, there is now some download boxes. I think the most beneficial to you right here are going to be these knowledge packs. So let's say I'm a 5th grade teacher. It'll bring me to the knowledge pack for 5th grade. There's some connections to the Making a Scientist, Wonderstruck, Shutting Out the Sky, and then just some other things that we thought would be great for 5th graders to read and learn about if they are in a place where you don't have access to the text. So you might want to do this one on space. It gives you a bunch of text to choose from. So you can select and it brings you to Common Lit where you can either assign it digitally or you can print it out and send it home in a PDF version for your students. The benefit of assigning it digitally is it has a lot of accessibility features. So this is something I would definitely recommend pairing with your asynchronous learning planning so that you can utilize those tools. And then finally, it has, there's some like samples of what they do with those packs with some journal templates and instructions for implementation, as well as an optional final project where, let's say your kids work synchronously on one of these text sets and they can build out a final project. So it just walks them through building their own project that they would have a product and presentation to deliver from. They could record those and send them to you virtually. There's really no end to how you could be flexible in using these to support your core instruction. In addition to that, the final component is the independent reading protocol, which essentially works very similar to the knowledge packs. We did pair each guidebook unit with a supplemental text for kids to read independently, and it allows them to complete some journals as they go through to build vocabulary. And I am trying to find it. Oh, here it is, independent reading protocols. What this does is walks them through like different ways that you can hold them accountable for their independent reading. It gives some templates for keeping track of what they learn, and then also gives them a final project option where they can present a presentation about their book. So those are all the ways that you can increase the flexibility of what students are doing asynchronously that is still in service of their core instruction. And I will stop there. That is all I have to share. If y'all have any questions, just drop them in the chat.
All right, thank you so much, Holly, Jesse. So maybe everybody on this call is like super with it, but I was like last Friday years old when I knew that all of these updates had been made. Because like, I don't know about everybody else, but I started to kind of break down my first units at the very beginning of, I don't know, life, which happened before this update. This was like September 17th or something like that. So the implications for this is it's super major. And again, you have this recorded. So if you're not already using it or any part of it, what a cool space to just explore with teachers and just tell them it exists, because like knowing something is half the battle, like knowing where to find it. So I'm going to go ahead and move us through now. And thank you so very much. And again, Holly Jesse's here. If you have any questions for her, you can definitely just keep plopping those in the chat box. But I'd like to move us on. So I added my mask, and it's not because like I'm trying to overachieve at social distancing, which I'm prone to. It's because I have such a cool guest that's in person here. But these are the 3 educators that we are going to be hearing from. And I'm super excited about it because one of them is actually here, like a real person in person, like a real human with me. It's amazing. So Trinette Wallace, if you don't already know Trinette, then really you have not lived. So Trinette is a 6th grade teacher. She's at West Thibodeau Middle in Lafourche. She's also our current and brand spanking new middle school teacher of the year. I just want to say this, if you ever need your staff to be re-energized, you need to look her up and ask her to speak to your people, because she speaks to my soul and I'm like happy. So what these 3 teachers are going to do, they're just going to very briefly like take maybe 2 to 3 minutes each and tell you a little bit about their successes with either virtual or hybrid, depending on how they fall there. Their challenges, right? Because I think we need to hear that from people who are doing the work, and you're going to hear from just three of the best. And then they're going to talk about supports that they've either received that were really helpful, or the type of supports that they find or they think that most teachers could really benefit from right now. And I think that it's so important to keep conversations like that going, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are closest to the kids, and they're the closest to getting the work done and for helping us all feel like that there's normal, right? So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and move over so that you can hear from Trinette as she tells us a little bit about her experience, her successes, her challenges, and the need for supports. Are you ready, Miss Wallace?
Yes.
Lady Wallace.
Hi, everyone. I feel honored and elated to be on this call with you all. Kimberly make me feel like a rock star, and
You are.
I'm just a normal teacher. The biggest challenge right now is supporting teachers throughout this pandemic and making sure that we have the resources that we need to make sure our kids get what they need. I am a social studies teacher, so not much emphasis has been on social studies. I just was eavesdropping on your call, and she was talking about guidebooks for ELA, which is amazing, but we need some more support for social studies teachers with this distance learning. I have been doing virtual and I have been doing in-person learning, and to say it has been a challenge, it has been a challenge. The thing I think that has made me successful in the classroom is making connections with other teachers and seeing what they have done to be successful, what resources that they have out there. I think we need to find some more online platforms for the kids to use, not only for in-person, but if we have to transition back virtually, would help as well. Anything else you want me to? Okay. Well, I'm gonna turn it back over to Miss Kimberly.
All right, well, thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Trinette. Seriously, and you really do need to look her up if people need a motivating. I'm so serious. But she touched on a couple of different things, and I'm so glad because I think if we're playing tennis, Dr. Seneca, this one's coming straight at you in a little bit, because she talked about for her, the most support she needs is connectivity, like connections with other teachers and connections to as many resources as possible. More platforms, the better. So now I'm going to switch the conversation over to a teacher. Her name is Lacey Beal. And most recently, she had been teaching first and second grade virtually with her brick and mortar classroom. She's just one of the best, I think, in the universe. But what do I know? Except a lot. So right now she's teaching exclusively for a virtual academy in West Baton Rouge. And you might have seen her teaching recently because she is probably the bravest human being I've ever met. She allowed her virtual lesson to be recorded, to be placed on the Compass training, so that she just wants to help other teachers. It's just who she is, it's her spirit. So Lacey, if you could do the same, if you could tell us successes, challenges, and then the supports that you think that teachers need the most right now.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for inviting me today. So just a little background, I am 100% virtual. So the way West Baton Rouge did it is you can opt into the virtual program, or you could go back face to face. So the students that I see every day are those that are 100% virtual. They stay at home. They don't participate in extracurricular activities and things like that. And as Kim said in the beginning, I started out as teaching all subjects first grade and all subjects second grade. So it was a challenge for me to try to set up a schedule where I could see first graders for reading, and then I needed to see second graders. So it was a lot of time management that had to go into it. And I think a lot of it is because we didn't know what we were getting into. Or the amount of time that it was going to take. So what happened was I would teach for 8 hours, and then it would take me another 8 to 10 to 12 hours to make all the lessons for the next day. So I was averaging about 4 hours of sleep a night. Now we're at a point now where we've had some students go back face to face. They opted back in, and it's made the numbers smaller, and I'm only teaching second grade. So I am actually going to bed right around 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it's wonderful. I was able to wash my hair today and have it straight and not in a ponytail. So that was a plus of that. So looking at some of the challenges besides the time management, I know speaking for the little kids, it was very hard we spent the first 2 weeks. I mean, we didn't even start really digging into anything, teaching them how to log into the computer. I mean, so that amount of time needs to be set aside, especially for the younger ones. How to refresh a page, you know, I mean, it's little things like, okay, find the circle arrow at the top. And that takes a lot of time, even now, you know, 10 weeks into it, 12 weeks into it, helping them navigate what they're using. And my goal going into it was to have them stay as close to their face-to-face peers as possible, because if they went back in January, I wanted them to be able to be set up for success to just ease right in. But it does have a couple of problems with our distance learning model. I think it really needs to be looked at, because we are doing the same exact curriculum that they're doing face-to-face. And some of those activities or programs they just don't work very well and in distance. And it can be, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Difficult to stay on that pace. So I think moving forward, it would take whoever is in charge of looking at the curriculum, having a different model for the virtual program, and making sure that it's doable for even at the platform level, Dr. Seneca, looking at platforms that are user-friendly for the younger kids.
Mr. Anderson, can you bring a lunch from the cafeteria, please?
Another challenge is, I would say, isolation and accountability. I'm a pretty competent teacher, and I'm thinking that a lot of the isolation is because they knew the job was going to get done, but there might be teachers that aren't. And I love being the principal, the secretary, the tech department, the janitor, all of my class that I'm teaching. But at some point it would be nice, or, you know, that we're making sure that we're checking in on teachers, that, hey, how can I support you? I know this isn't what we thought it was going to be. What can we do to help you move forward? I'm here for you. And going back to the curriculum, making sure that the amount of time that it takes to change paper activities to do something online is, it takes a lot of time. So all of that should be put into the planning of it. Grading, this is another thing for me, and it's hard for me because, like, right now we're talking about topics and details and supporting the main idea, and I have them write their work. Well, what am I grading? Am I grading that they understand that a sentence needs to start with a capital letter and end with a period if they don't know how to type? You know, so these are all things like, am I able to truly grade what they're doing based off of their tech abilities, you know? So that kind of goes into play. Another one is understanding where these kids come from and accessibility to internet. So we live in a pretty rural area, so internet is not that great. And there's times when they can't show up. Do I count that as an attendance issue? You know, so it's all of these, knowing what the standard is on how we take attendance, things like that. There's all these situations that go into play instead of brick and mortar where we're all on the same playing field. We have kids that are having their grandparents having to help them out, who still doesn't even know how to use a smartphone because parents had to return back to work at phase 3. So they went into this being their learning partner, and now they can't. But to end on a good note, some of the positive things that has come from this is, for me, the relationships that have been built. It is very much an honor for me to be invited into these homes every day. I'm a guest, and their life is still going on in the background, and mom's cooking, or, you know, there's other children that are having to share the bandwidth, and I'm here and I get to be a part of their lives. And these kids have so much that, like, I almost was late for this meeting because they didn't want to get off. They just wanted to share. They want to be heard. They want to have that social aspect. So the relationships that I have with the students and the parents has been very beneficial, and has just really revived my feeling of being where I am is where I need to be. So, yeah. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so very much for that. You shined so much light on so many different elements. You hit on sort of like the need for us all to really recognize the social and emotional safety and presence and well-being of adults. And that's all of us. I would think anybody that's living this life right now, okay? So thank you for that. But then you also gave us so many questions to think about in terms of what does it look like, right? Because whenever you nailed it, like whenever students are turning in work, did you not capitalize because you didn't know to capitalize, or because your tiny hands are also trying to learn how to do, shift, capitalize? So these are just such compelling things. And I think that those are things that are transcending COVID. I think it might make us rethink how we've tested digitally even prior, at least I hope it does. So thank you so much for sharing. Your hair does look amazing. I'm glad you got to wash it. We have another teacher on this call, our last teacher before we turn it over to Dr. Seneca. He also has amazing hair. His name is Mr. Henry Dreyfus. And so you've had a really interesting run. And to tell you a little bit about Mr. Dreyfus, I think his students sing his praises the loudest. Your reputation definitely precedes you. So he is in Orleans Parish at Ben Franklin High School. And what's been pretty interesting about that space, and I know that that area is not the only ones, but they've been virtual completely. I think you guys had maybe like one hybrid day that you attempted, and then hurricane. So maybe the kids are just trickling back now. So you might have only met a handful of kids in person, and that's definitely a state of a lot of our areas that are in southern Louisiana. So Mr. Javis, if you could take it away and tell us a little bit about your successes and challenges and supports that you think are helpful for teachers right now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kim. So at Franklin, we, and I think it's probably, I don't know what the high schools rest of the state are like, but like definitely we're trying to transition back to a more hybrid model. Students are coming in 2 days a week now. So they have Zoom on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So they just go through their Zoom classes. And then on Wednesday and Friday, the students who stay home have like a work day assignment that has to be done and submitted by 2 p.m. that day. But then some of those kids are coming into the school to receive instruction from their teachers, and they're going through their schedule. So I think the thing that I can speak the most about, and I think it's most helpful, I think, repeating what everyone said about the need for resources and like that kind of guidance and individual success with different kinds of lessons, that's all great. But I think the thing that I've been thinking about the most as we transition to a world in which hybrid will be the expectation in the second semester at some point, is that like, how can we teach the kids at home and online at the same time without shortchanging either experience? And so like one thing that it made sense to me to do it this way. It hasn't been kind of mandated as a way. In fact, at Franklin, they've given us pretty huge leeway in what we do when we come in on Wednesday and Friday. But they've told us you can't teach new material that's not available to the kids at home. So that's kind of the one thing, but they also don't want to a study hall every class. So given those parameters, the way I've approached it, and I have it's worked well so far, it's only been 3 weeks, then -2 from Zeta, but the kids at home get a Google form that has them kind of go through the steps of the agenda that they're doing in class. And that's kind of multimodal, like some of it's with the YouTube clip, some of it's analyzing a case. I teach AP Gov. And some of it's going to be just like kind of straight guessing work, like work where they're analyzing something and then we're coming back to it at the Zoom session the next day. And then with the kids who are there, I'm going through that same lesson with them in person, but they're not doing the form. We're doing it together in class. But I think that works well for high school because they don't need as much help in terms of accessing the resources. And if they have, the basics, like in terms of internet access or a computer and things like that. And so that's worked well for me because then I'm there. And then at the end of each like workday class, I open up the room to like an office hours Zoom session. So if they did have any questions about the Google form, those kids can come in and talk to me for 20 minutes if they need to. And while the other kids are working on either the assignments that I have going on besides the work days or things for their class. So that's worked well. And I don't feel this insanity that I know a lot of you experience, like with you're filming yourself and you're teaching the kids at home while you're teaching the other part of the room is there. And so there's no expectation the kids who are home are there, they're doing the form, and the kids were there, we're doing the form, but just together. And so I think that's kind of everyone on the same page. And when we come back on Thursday for our Zoom session, we're all on the same page after a day apart. And so that's worked well. I do think the support's needed is in terms of an AP teacher with a lot of seniors who, I think they're not, the relationships, not having them is awful and I hate it. But I think we all understand it's part of the situation, particularly with older students. But like, I want to know what I have to do to not waste their time. And like, if I'm teaching an AP class or a state aligned LEAP course, Like, I need to know what's being communicated to administrators about what's expected of them for test results. Because, like, I do want to be sensitive to their situation at home, but I also want to make sure that they're getting what they need in terms of like testing stuff. And I feel like you guys are part of conversations on a daily basis that are where expectations should be communicated to you. I don't know how clearly, but I don't feel like I hear that as a teacher. Is what are you hearing in terms of what are the expectations for students when it comes to state required testing and AP testing? And so that way, if I know that, I can tailor my lessons to be more rigorous or less rigorous, or more focused in certain units or other units. It's like, it's important to know because I don't want to waste students' time. And yeah, that's all I have. I think that's helpful for this space.
Okay, thank you so much. And I know that you fit us in a day of teaching. So I really, really appreciate that. And so that makes so much sense. Yeah, like what are we preparing them for with all the pieces? You know, there's life, but it wouldn't hurt to also know the other things too. So I definitely appreciate that in terms of supports that teachers need. So thank you for rounding out that conversation. And I hope that we get to talk together and meet together in person one day. So now we're going to turn it over to Dr. Seneca. She's also the president of Louisiana Association of Computer Using Educators. And I always make sort of jokes. This is now my 13th year of teaching, and her tech department and the learning technologies and everything that I've learned. I didn't know how to do a PowerPoint before this team got a hold of me. And now I'm like a machine with learning tech. But I would like for her to share with you resources that are just so incredible. And LaCue was really poised and primed for so much of this by nature of what they do. They are experts in learning technologies. So Dr. Seneca, if you can go ahead and share, and the floor is completely yours.
Okay, let's see. Hello, everyone. And of course, I got 3 screens, so I've got to pick which screen to share with y'all. So hold on. All right. I'm an overachiever with the screens. What can I say? Can y'all see that? You good, Kim? All right. Oops. All right, so thank you, Kim, and thanks to all the teachers who just presented, because it's amazing to hear from the actual teachers who are working. Lacey's my buddy over there in West Baton Rouge. I think you did great, Lacey. So thank you for that, for representing West Baton Rouge proud. But I'm here for LaCue today. So I am the president of LaCue, but I also wanted to give a shout out to, I did see, and I hope I didn't miss any, I did see several of our board members on supporting. So that's Courtney Bullock, Dr. Dustin Hebert, Kim LeBlanc, Pam Nicholson, and Leslie McClure, and any other ones on there. We have a devoted group of board members, a little bit over 20, who, when this happened, we were like, okay, what can we do to support our teachers? And I'm going to give Kim a thank you for saying we were poised and ready to go in front of COVID, but I'm going to tell y'all the dirty little secret is that we were a technology organization that did everything face to face. You know, so when we started this, we had to really sit down and say, we had to cancel our June event. We had to cancel our December event face to face, but we still knew that our teachers out there needed something. So what I wanted to show you with the end of this session is to let you see what we have available and what is possibly like a little preview of what's to come for LaCue in 2021. So first of all, if you go to lacue.org, you can go ahead and join LaCue for free. So all of the resources you were about to see that I'm going to go over are all free for you. If you missed the other events, don't worry. All you have to do is go on to the website, register, and then once you register, you can get access to all of the other resources that we have available. So one thing we wanted to kind of go over with you, or I wanted to go over with you, is what our position is here at LaCue right now. So right now we felt like all of you were extremely busy, but yet still if you're just like all of you are, we were here in West Baton Rouge. How do we switch to a virtual academy? How do we build a virtual academy? How do we make sure our teachers know how to create a video, or how to go on Google Classroom, or any of those types of items like that? So one thing we really felt like we needed to do was to provide resources for you someone mute? Thank you. So that what resources could we provide for you that you can use on your free time? Because I think that was our biggest thing. You know, we all know how crazy our days are. We all come in, get out of bed, get to work, and we're thinking, okay, I'm going to do all of this today. And if you're living any percentage of your life in a classroom right now or in a tech department, you know all of that gets thrown out the window the minute you get to work. So we felt like we needed something that would allow our teachers to go in on their own time. So what you're going to see is we developed what was called LaQ Cares. So LaQ Cares was 5 big events that started in July and moved through December 4th. Is going to be our last one coming up after Thanksgiving break. December 4th is kind of our big culminating activity for 2020. It would have been like our actual teacher conference that we would have had in New Orleans, actually on that date. But one thing I wanted to mention to y'all is some of the highlights that I felt that we've seen over the last couple of days or months with this. And the first one is I encourage everyone to go listen to Tom Murray's headliner speech on self-care. He wrote the book Personal and Authentic. It is absolutely fabulous. When Kim and I were talking about planning for this and other connections with LaQ, I mentioned to her about that book, and I think she actually said, oh yeah, I'm going to buy that right now. It's just really that great. Also, the Tech Rabbi was a whole different perspective for us on how to look at innovation and how to look at it from the point of view of the classroom and the virtual classroom. What I loved about his as well is he was a perfect example of, on September the 18th, most of our school systems were shut down for one of the gazillion hurricanes of the month that we had. And he was in Los Angeles and he was in his house because of the fires. So here we were across the country from each other, and he recorded his entire speech for us and his entire headliner talks and breakout with that concept of challenging our students and still being able to challenge them even innovatively from home. We just had Weston Kisnick on Friday. He made Friday the 13th pretty good, I gotta say. He's great. He does a lot of work with Hattie's work. He does, I still have his book on my desk, one of them, Bold Schools. Very, very good. And then, of course, we're very excited about our upcoming event with Eric Schinninger, which we are going to, I'm going to show you where to get all those resources to be able to register for those. So this is our last big event of the year. So December 4th, we have Eric Schinninger as a headliner. We have 26 synchronous sessions scheduled for that day and 21 asynchronous sessions for that day. One thing I really like about the overall description of Eric Schinninger's headliner speech, which is Mindsets for a Bold New World, he's going to talk about everything that's been going on in the news. He's going to talk about the concept of COVID and how to bring all that together and how to kind of look at it from the perspective of teachers. If you don't know who Eric Schinninger is, he was one of the first principals that started using social media and that type of thing. Really good speaker. If you haven't heard him, he was supposed to be our headliner in person. So now he's going to just be virtual. If on this slide deck, which I think you have, did you send this slide deck out to everybody, Kim? The link? If not, I will post it on LaQ's website and social media. Because if you click on this link, you're going to see the entire program. So you'll see the description of everything, of all the different sessions. One thing I want to stop and give a shout out to is all of our Louisiana colleagues who, in the midst of teaching and running tech departments and everything else, has absolutely provided some brilliant sessions for us throughout these entire LaQ Cares events. And I'll hope that they will be beneficial to you. And so again, notice they got 26 synchronous sessions on one day. We do have some folks from outside of the state, but most of these are Louisiana people. Some of them are doing them on their lunch break. So to me, that just shows what Louisiana is about. And that just shows what we're about as educators. You know, their one little break on that Friday, they're going to take to try to share something with you. So please go out and register. These are the other sessions that are archived for you. The links are there for our website. And again, I'll post this as well on the LaCue Twitter page, as well as the LaCue Facebook page. The only one that's not totally available right now is Leslie Fisher. Her sessions will only be available on December 4th and the 5th. That was per contract. So just to let y'all know. Also, a shout out to Nicholls State. They did a whole day with their current members of their master's degree program and their alumni. So they have some great things on Pear Deck and Nearpod and Microsoft Teams in that section. So I'm hoping you're seeing that LaCue has really worked hard to try to give you a lot of resources to try to go across Chrome and Microsoft, and as well as other apps and other items. So to register, it's really easy. If you just go to our website, all of it is there on our website. And I guess I should have put that on here. It's just very simple, www.lacue.org. So on that website, you just go up to the top and you're going to register on the site. Once you register on the site, we'll make you a LaCue member, no cost, all free. And then what'll happen is we will send on December the 3rd an email to everyone who's registered with a link to every synchronous session for that day. So, and the presenters already know that people will be coming in and out so that you can try to get access and get experience with as much as you can and possibly would like to. Once you have that registration and you're logged into our website, then you can go to all the other previous ones, these ones here that I just talked about. All of these are archived. The only one right now, Weston's keynotes, are not on. They were Friday. I'm waiting to get those videos, and they should be posted this week. So just to kind of give you sort of an overview of what to look for in 2021, one thing that COVID has done for the LaCue organization is made us realize that we have to be more hybrid, just like you are in your classroom. So we don't want to get rid of those face-to-face meetings and those face-to-face conferences. You know, I'm sure if you're on social media, you saw the little statement going around social media in the education. I know I saw it on Twitter a million times. It said, look, I just want to go to a conference, talk to someone face-to-face, drink bad coffee, get an ink pen and a tote bag. And I mean, I think that kind of sums up where we all are. So as far as the changes in 2020, we're hoping to still be able to do our face-to-face stuff. They may look a little different in June for sure. But one thing we also want to do is modernize our actual organization. So the group of us are getting together over the Christmas break, and we're going to start looking at what should a tech organization devoted to teachers in Louisiana should look like as we move forward. How can we sustain this, and how can we get more of our members involved? And so hopefully this is a call to arms to all of you. Obviously, y'all are have a passion for curriculum and teaching and support, and that's why you're here. We do as well. And for LaCue, one of my biggest goals right now is to just keep people connected. I think Kim mentioned it. We have LA Ed chats that we often do on Twitter that will get back started for LaCue. We have, and Kim, I'm going to do a plug for your WBR chat, hashtag tomorrow night. We have a group of, and it doesn't just have to be WBR folks. We have a group of future teachers from the Educator Rising. It's going to come talk about culturally sensitive curriculum and actions inside of the classroom, which I think is an extraordinary conversation to have with these young kids that are in that mostly, I guess, juniors and seniors, right, Kim? And but I think what's mostly amazing about it is to give those future educators a voice. And they have done that for us in the past. and y'all talk about networking and support. I think this shows how we've got to start networking and supporting more, even as early as high school if they want to be teachers. So we look forward to changes in 2021. If you're interested in anything that is LaCue based or getting involved with LaCue, you do not have to be on the board to get involved in LaCue. We have a lot of people that work with us with presentations, getting information out, that type of thing. We'd love to have everybody involved. So with that said, I'm putting my crystal ball in front of us and saying, I'm going to see all of you down in NOLA in a year. So save your dates for LaCue 2021. So that's going to be November the 29th through December the 1st at the Hyatt Regency. We need that bad coffee. And let me tell y'all folks, that's expensive coffee down there in New Orleans. That was the most shocking thing to me when we started working with LaCue. But it's the idea of us networking and being together and talking with each other and kind of understanding what it's like to be in the trenches. And I think that's why teachers are stressed right now, because we miss having those connections. So I think hours like this are great, Kim, that help us to get online and just kind of talk through things. And then of course, this is Louisiana. So I have to give a Little Lagniappe out, right? Okay, so this is a shameless plug for West Baton Rouge. I mean, I'm just gonna say. So basically, when Kim and I were talking, I told her we had 2 distance learning sessions or series of webinars that we put together for our teachers. We did post these out so other people from other districts has used them, but you can see the 2 links there for you. The first group was from this summer, and it was me and Stephanie Thompson, who works here in West Baton Rouge, is also a LaCue board member. And we worked on those topics there, and so that we have some great resources there. And notice the top tools for distance learning. I heard earlier about needing some more resources and stuff for social studies. There's some great ones there. And I also have a presentation I did. Kim, you got to give me her email address so I can send her some social studies stuff. And then the last one we did was the fall 2020. Let's talk about distance learning. And notice what some of the topics were. Lacey kind of hit on, and that's exactly why I did some of these. It was on organization, grading, communication, and engagement, because these are the types of topics that our teachers were asking for and wanting some assistance on. So I thank you for the time. I know I'm not a whole 30 minutes, but I wanted to leave some time in case there were any questions, or if Kim wanted to add anything else in there. That's my email address there if you just want to email me directly. But if you want to email the LaCue office about anything, or if you have an issue in terms of you tried to log on, you couldn't get in, that whole 9 yards, it's just LaCue@lacue.org. And I'm gonna end with the challenge that Weston Kisnick gave us on Friday. So I'm kind of hoping that this is something that you'll go back and watch once we post it. And his challenge to us was not to put a lid on the 2021 school year, which I thought was a fantastic way for him to kind of end his hour with us. And he basically talked about taking a cup, and he said that if you filled the cup with fleas, what's going to happen to the fleas? What'll happen? What will they do if you put what does a flea do? Come on, somebody can give me some hand motions, right? They're going to jump out. They'll keep jumping out. They'll keep just jumping out. But if you put a lid on the cup, what's going to happen to the fleas inside? They're going to just keep jumping, but they're going to hit the bottom of your hand. And then they're going to eventually stop. If you take your hand off, then what are the fleas going to do? They're going to only jump to the top of the cup. They won't go any further until one little flea decides it's time to jump out. And they take the chance and they jump out, and then everybody else follows. So his challenge to us was don't put a lid on 2021, which I thought was great. Because even though we have all of these challenges, if we put the lid on it, then no one's going to jump. And I don't mean off the cliff. I mean, to greatness. So I thank you for the time, Kim. Please join LaQ. Please get involved. Please reach out if we're not covering something that you're really interested in. So I'm not sure if there's any other questions. Let me see if I can stop sharing, or Kim can stop sharing me at this point. All right, let's see. Got it, Kim? Yeah, my window went away, Kim. You're gonna have to take my rights away. So look, I just took over for you, Kim. There we go. All right. So I don't know if there was, but thank you, Kim. Thank you, all of you, for coming on at 12 o'clock, on a Tuesday afternoon. Please reach out to us. We're here for you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Seneca. I love the flea and the lid situation. Of course, my morbid brain, you're like, what's going to happen? I'm like, they're going to drown in my coffee? Like, surely that can't be the moral. But no, that was super good. Your way. So everybody that's on our call right now, I know that, like, if you're not comfortable asking questions, you could always reach out, because now you've got a massive, brilliant entity through LaQ. And what I will tell you, like, we've covered a lot in this 1 hour. And again, we're going to post all of these resources, but we learned about the NIET training. You listen to talk about the ELA guidebook and these massive updates for virtual connectivity. We heard from 3 expert teachers who were just sharing their hearts out and their experience and their brilliance. You learn about LaQ, but the good thing is you're not going to get a test on this. You're going to get to watch this again and send it out to everybody that needs to see it. The only other thing that I will tell you, so the teachers that were featured today, they're incredibly special, but they're not unique. You obviously have experts in your own district. And the beauty of this is that we can share. And I will say this about LaQ, it doesn't matter if the teacher has got a super strong background in their content or in innovation itself or in problem-based learning or whatever it might be. Whenever they connect and reach out, LaQ finds a path for them in their own leadership. And we do know that, like, one of the beauties of our profession is that we're stronger and smarter and more powerful together. So I can't stress enough, join, great. How's that for a powerful partnership? I'm gonna stay on a little bit longer. If there's any question that you wanna put in the chat box, I can make sure that if we need a little FAQ that goes out with this, we can get it addressed. So that ship will not sail for you. And definitely recommend more titles, more topics, so that we can make sure to get more experts and keep these conversations going each month. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much. I think Mr. Dreyfus is still here. Thank you. Trinette had to get back and Lacey had to go teach, because that's what they do. But we really appreciate them. And thank you again, Dr. Seneca.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I know that many of you are logging off. There's a question in the chat box, and if we don't get to it, I will personally get some different experiences for you. Molly Talbot, she wants to know about that attendance issue with low and unreliable connectivity. I was glad that Lacey mentioned that's been a problem for her. Does anybody have any advice that's on the call right now or just something that you've tried?
So good afternoon, this is Mrs. Robinson from St. Landry Parish.
Oh, hello.
Hi. One of the things that I want to remind everyone on the call is that we have to be mindful that our classrooms virtually are still the classrooms that we had in a traditional sense in many ways as well. So I can recall when we had attendance issues in a physical environment that we had opportunities for rewards and incentives. And so you can still do those things virtually. It might be that if you log on for that daily live synchronous instruction, then on Friday you get to wear a hat or a costume of some kind, especially for those kids in lower grades. It might be that you can work with the base schools. And so you can still go to those vendors and establishments in the area and seek incentive coupons for attendance. and then mail those to the students. And so we want to be as connected as possible, even in a virtual setting, and try to use some of those traditional means that our kids are aware of to encourage attendance virtually.
Thank you so much, Ms. Robinson. It's so funny. Like, I think sometimes we forget that what works for a reason. And I think that was really great, like still incentivizing attendance. And then Molly Talbot. So I love people's names, so I put them together. Molly Talbot. So she was asking a lot about like the connectivity issues. And I am curious about that too. Like, there's a conference that I did not appear for this morning because I was like locked out of registration. And I know that that's not, common, but do you have any ideas, Ms. Robinson, or anybody else in the call, about like attendance itself whenever we know that like internet connectivity may not be strong everywhere?
We have some of those issues here in our district as well, because we do have some areas that are more rural than others. We did look at a number of options, but one of the things that we did that I think would be beneficial in a number of areas is allowing parents some time on the school's nearest students and giving parents an opportunity to visit the school after hours. So with pre-planning, teachers have printed materials for students to work on, and then students are aware that there are office hours at certain base schools near those remote areas where they can go and work digitally.
Oh, and Ms. Robinson asking for a friend. What district are you? I'm the friend.
St. Landry.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And thank you, Ms. Robinson. This is Molly Talbot. Those were some great ideas, the traditional ideas we haven't tried yet. We do have community hotspot or community locations where families can go to access internet, and if they don't have internet at home, we're just sometimes it's the same families that weren't consistently attending school. And in other cases, it's students who were in school every day, but just aren't connecting every day or even once a week. So, just throwing it out there for ideas. I'm happy to try anything that we can do to get these babies learning.
Correct. So when you were speaking, it sounded like the issue was perhaps a connectivity issue or an issue whereby folks were simply not interested in attending. And it could be a dual issue. I'm not sure.
In some cases, it's both. In some cases, it's one or the other. Where parents are really trying, but maybe I just couldn't afford internet, so it had to get cut off this month type thing. And we have issued hotspots to some families as well as a district. I'm just curious. I'm always eager to learn and gain more information from others, how we can improve and try new things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Molly Talbot, what district are you?
I'm in Point Capee Parish. So I'm the virtual administrator for our parish. I'm also an on-campus assistant principal.
Are you also like a magical tooth fairy? You moonlight? Okay.
Of course. No, my kids haven't lost teeth yet, so I'm not the tooth fairy yet.
Fair enough. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions at all? And remember, this was totally optional hangout time. But I was really glad to hear you ask that question, Molly Talbot. And if I hear any more things, I'll put it your way. And if you come up with something that you find works over the next few months, let me know so that we can share that. All right. If nobody has anything else, I'll go ahead and end. But again, this recording will be posted. I appreciate each of you so very much to spend your time with us. And again, you'll see different survey links go out. It's a really simple survey. It's just like, what topic would you like to see in office hours? And that's literally how we're formatting. So it's super organic each month, and we will pull experts. If you would like to be the expert, let me know, because I'm such a groupie for like teachers and administrators and school leaders and like everybody that has to like wake up and get to teach kids. So yeah, that's all. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.